What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marinoni Time. I'm Alex Marinoni, and today we're joined with a special guest from the Guardians, starting wide receiver Colby Pearson. Colby, just want to say thank you for the time, and I hope you and your family are all doing well during this pretty crazy pandemic we're all going through.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on, Alex, man. It's cool to be on.
Absolutely. So, yeah, speaking of that pandemic, I mean, can you take us through that final week? I mean, everything seems to be going as normal, and all of a sudden the NBA's canceling and MLB, everybody starts dropping, and you guys are still out there preparing to play the Roughnecks week 6 and look to get into first place. Can you take us through that final week and then how the decision and ultimately was decided and how they told you guys?
Yeah, so we were just kind of taking, just our normal routine. It was a normal week for us and a big game coming up, so we were just going about our preparation as usual, and we started noticing things, throughout media, social media, the NBA was shutting down, this was shutting down, and we realized, man, this is pretty serious, and we couldn't help but to think, like, man, we've just got to be next, Well, we had a team meeting that night, and head coach had brought it up, hey, like, I'm willing to make a statement and be the mouthpiece for you guys if there's anything you guys want to say or how you guys want to go about it, and the next day is kind of when it all shut down. So he called a meeting the next morning and kind of broke us the news. But we all kind of been following it, individually on our phones, and so we kind of knew it was coming,
Yeah, and it was very unfortunate because you guys had a huge game coming up with the Roughnecks. They're coming undefeated, and they're playing very well, but they look kind of vulnerable. I mean, teams are keeping it close, and with how hot you guys got in those last 2 weeks, it looked like, I mean, I'm talking to a lot of people, and you guys were personally my pick to win that game, just the way you were rolling. That was the same feeling you guys had going into that?
Yeah, for sure. We were super excited. Not only was it the undefeated team, but yeah, like you mentioned, we felt, their past couple of games, they'd been super close, and they squeaked them out at the end, and so we felt we had a really good shot going in with the way that we've been playing ball. So, offensively, too, we were feeling really good about things, and we were just excited to really go prove to people in the XFL, that the Guardians were for real, and the game was in MetLife, too, so we were really excited about that.
Absolutely, and that was the one thing. You guys looked like it was just the 2 home games, but you guys had a different team in those 2 home games compared to your first 2 away games. And then the big question was that Dallas Renegades game on the road, and you guys, it took a little bit, especially for the offense to start to get going, but then all of a sudden it was touchdown, and you guys were just moving the ball. I mean, what clicked in that Renegades game that you guys just all of a sudden it seemed like we're here?
Yeah, I think, early in the season too, I think there was plays out there and things to be made, but it's just those little things, those little chemistry things that make all the difference, in a football game and for an offense, little timings and so once we kind of got comfortable in that Dallas game, those things started to come together. We weren't dropping, I mean, we had some drop balls in the first half. We started catching the ball, and we were, exploiting the things that the defense was giving us. And so Luis came in those last couple of games and did a really good job of turning our season around for us. And that's why I said, man, we were just so excited to keep going, because we felt like offensively, specifically, that, we were just starting to snowball this thing,
Absolutely. And one thing I noticed, I watched every game, and I was really studying the receivers, and you and McKay, Redding, and everybody else that was lined up. And I noticed you guys are just creating separation, play in and play out, especially you, all 5 weeks. I was just pretty much waiting for a breakout. And it was in the cards, because it was just, you're about 3 to 4 yards separated by these guys, and you're getting off the ball, and there's just some misplays. And like you said, the chemistry had to build. You had to find yourselves. But did it ever get frustrating, or how were you guys able to hold that together, knowing like it's gonna click, but it just hasn't yet? How are you guys able to, I guess, keep it all together to make it work?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most frustrating parts about playing receiver. I did play quarterback, like, growing up in the league and everything, and then when you switch to receiver, it does get frustrating because you're not in control of the ball at that point. It's all your job is to do is get open, and if the ball comes your way, make a play. So, I mean, it was definitely frustrating, but at the same time, I was like, this team, we've only been together for a couple months, and like you said, how you felt, I felt that probably times 5. I was like, it's bound to happen. I know the quarterbacks are seeing it, I see it, and it's just a matter of time before everything starts clicking. And so that's what was kind of disappointing the most, at least for me, that the season got cut short, just because I felt, that the offense was just about to really, really get going.
Watching you guys through those 5 weeks, you guys were like you said, you were getting it going. But what can you take away now that experience as far as putting tape on the field, do you think those 5 weeks, even though the numbers until that last week weren't there, do you think you put enough on tape for NFL teams now going into the off season?
Man, I sure hope so. I mean, I proved a lot, I think, to not only other people, but a lot to myself as well. So, I hope so, but who knows, if it's in the cards for me right now, it is. If not, then I'll just, keep my head down and keep grinding and come back next year with a little bigger chip on my shoulder,
Absolutely. And I thought that final game, though, was big for you as far as, like, if you watch the tape, you see the separation, not just from you, from everybody, but then you're able to put in a 5-catch, 95-yard performance with that big touchdown grab, which before the touchdown back-and-forth explosion between your defense and then getting back down there and scoring again, it seemed like that was going to be the difference maker of the game. So it was a huge play of the game. So I thought that was great. It kind of like culminated, unfortunately, since it ended up being the last week, it seemed like it culminated, all the work you put in throughout the year, not getting those looks. And then all of a sudden, all right, fine. I finally got the numbers, the stat line to show for it at least.
Right. Well, and another thing too is that, and like you mentioned, I don't know if the normal football viewer at home, and I don't even know if you can see all the routes all the time, there's a lot more, to the position. There's a lot more to scouting than just the numbers. I know the numbers are huge and they mean everything, but at the same time, I felt I did a good job, run blocking, or even if I was on the backside of a route concept, I felt like I was getting, plenty of separation. And so I think scouts and people, who focus on those kind of things notice that, and I think that altogether, despite what the numbers could have been, I still think I felt I had a solid year. So, like I said, I'm hopeful and I'm excited to see what's next, but whatever happens, and I'm ready to roll again,
Now you actually led me right to my next point, was the ability of you guys on the outside to block for the running game. And that's something that you saw getting better as the weeks gone on. And as the games were going on and it looked like Luis was settled in, it seemed like he was going to be the guy, and the offense started to hit a stride. It seemed like that really opened up things for the running game as well. Running game was doing all right in the beginning, the early going, but it really looked like Darius, Stockton, and Cook looked like they really took hold of it, and you guys were blocking the second level that Darius was getting tackled by safeties, like the last man. So that's a credit to you guys. I felt that that goes unnoticed, that you guys were doing your job on the outside every snap, not just when it was, obviously the obvious passing play.
Right, and that was one of the major points that Coach Miller, Mike Miller, the receivers coach, took, from day one with us, is that we're going to be a run blocking unit, and so every day in our individuals in practice period, I don't know if you were there at a few practices, we always started off with a run blocking drill every single day, so we took pride in that, and that was one thing that we wanted to put on film, and I think we were able to do that really, really well, and it also helps, the offense, like you said, they started blowing up. Well, we that helps to open up the pass game. So, we take pride in that. If we run block well and we start running the ball well, then they're going to drop a safety down, or they're going to start bringing some more blitzes and open up some stuff for us. So, you scratch their back and you'll get yours scratched, so that's kind of how it works.
Absolutely. And now, being at those practices, I saw Tanner Gentry and Angelo Yancey, the two of them were starting to work out. It looked like they were going to be activated. It was kind of unclear. Did those two getting the pads back on those last couple weeks and looking like they were going to break the roster, did that get you guys nervous at all as a receiving core? Because I was seeing.
I knew DAngelo before. We were rookies in Green Bay, and I knew Tanner. I played against Tanner in college. He played at the University of Wyoming, and I was Tanner's roommate all year long. And so I was, it was quite the opposite for me. I was actually really excited and really pulling for those guys. So that was another, element of my disappointment. That I think those guys were super close to, if not the next game, being back on the field, So I felt for them and stuff, and they had a whole different grind this year than the rest of us had, battling injury and, still trying to stay in the playbook. And so I think their time was coming super shortly, and so I was disappointed for them. But, I wish them all the best in their recovery, and hope that, they're ready to rock when we start rolling again,
As somebody who was watching you guys and seeing you guys starting to gel and take stride, I actually was very disappointed from a consumer standpoint, and I guess you could say from a fanish standpoint even a little bit, because I really wanted to see what this offense could be without those two pieces, what they could have been as you guys are hitting stride without them. I thought you guys could have just been, as far as the chemistry would have probably had to take shape a little bit, but I thought you guys could have been very explosive because that seemed to be the one knock. Even though you guys kept going, it was this team, they're starting to move the ball now, but they're not explosive. They don't have those big explosive plays. And I think adding a couple of guys like that just for everybody.
I think, our room, the way it is and was pretty scary. And I think you add those guys, I think it's pretty unstoppable in my opinion. I thought we had a really, really talented room as far as receiving the ball.
Yeah, and I think overall the team, I think that weeks 2 and 3, people had that negative look on you guys, and you had to work your way out of that, and you had to come from the bottom. But I think it's just proving right now. I believe it's the third Guardian that's been signed by an NFL team. That's the most out of all the XFL guys, and there's still plenty of guys. A lot of quote-unquote experts are saying some other names from you guys that should be getting looked at in the NFL, and those are the guys that aren't getting signed yet. So that just kind of is a credit to how deep this team really was on both sides of the ball.
Right, yeah, and I knew, from the day I got there that there was some quality players on both sides of the ball, so that's what makes it fun and exciting. These are, a lot of these guys have NFL experience or NFL caliber players, and perhaps like me, they're just dudes who had some injuries or some bad luck or something that they had to go put some film out elsewhere, but, it was quality ball, and like we're seeing right now, there's NFL caliber players there, so hopefully those guys make the most of their opportunity.
And the thing I like the most about the XFL and watching you guys play, and something that I think really goes take it for granted, is when the season ended, it seemed like all I saw over Twitter and every social media outlet was every player and coach thanking their time, thanking the coaching staff, the coaches thanking the teams and everybody, and the XFL in general just for this opportunity. And it showed on the field already, but those little sentiments from all these players showed like the gratitude that you guys had for getting that second chance. And I don't want to make it seem this way, but you ever watched the movie Replacements? It almost had that kind of feel where it's just all these guys are just thrilled to have a second chance, and they're just going to be able to do something that they love, and all that other BS that has been pretty much following the NFL year after year that seems to be getting worse and worse with the NFL as it's one knock. It didn't exist in the XFL. It was just about the football, and seeing how everybody kind of took to it social media wise, I thought that was one of the most refreshing things. It seemed like from an XFL community, it was actually kind of sad just seeing, but awesome to see everybody how they took into it.
Yeah, and I think not only does it provide a good, product for the consumer, like you said, I had, one of the most fun times playing football again than I had in a really, really long time in the XFL. I don't know if it was just an element of a little less pressure, a little more relaxed. I can go out here and do my thing. I don't know if it was some of that or if it was just I'm more mature and more mentally, more knowledgeable in the game. But I had a blast out there this year. I had a fun room. I loved my coaches, and like I said, if things don't work out for me on the next level, man, I'm excited to come back and play. And like you said, it's really just been focused about football. We kind of, tune out all that outside stuff, and it's not really about that. The league, I think from the beginning, is kind of said like, hey, we're about the football. We're not about that. We're going to give the fans the access to the game like they've never had it before, so we're just going to focus on football, the whole time. And so I think it was pretty successful in doing that.
Absolutely. And yeah, and like you said, the extra elements too with the sideline reports and the interviews and all those, that pretty much that insider access. I think that was another big part of this, is that not only was the product great on the field, I think from a consumer standpoint, everybody was a little shocked by how great the on-field play was. I think everyone kind of had that view of XFL back in 2001, and it was just going to be, it looked like guys that weren't prepared for the moment, and then you had that access, and it was just kind of more of a gimmick than anything. This was, not only did you get the insides of what these coaches are saying, what the players are saying, and the analysts are telling each fan what's going on, but the product is great football. Like you guys, and then it was week after week, it was just getting better and better, because obviously you guys were almost, those first couple of weeks kind of almost felt like a preseason.
Right. Yeah. And it was one of those things where we're like, man, after week one, to kind of seeing the results, we're like, this is one of those things that could really, really go, and I felt like the fans came and had good energy, but like I said before in some interviews and stuff, is, people want to just see good football, and I think the XFL did a good job at just providing that. And then I think their idea of, less stall and more ball and speeding up the play clocks and all that stuff is all things that are positive to create, a bigger fan base and more people tuning in on television. So, yeah, man, I'm excited for the future of the XFL as well. It's been a really positive experience thus far.
Now, you said you were obviously, if things don't work out this offseason, you're definitely willing to come back. Now, can you explain to people that may not know the contract situation for you guys? Because if you're just a regular fan, it might be a little confusing knowing it's a 1-year deal, but the team still has their rights. They don't really get that. Can you explain what that means as far as like what this means for you now?
Yeah, so I'm not really 100% sure. All I know is as of right now, it's a year-to-year basis deal, like you said, and so it's just a year-by-year thing. But to my understanding, the team does get like X amount of players that they can retain rights to. But I want to say it's around 30 players, and so you have a bunch of your other players that they don't get to keep the rights to. So I believe that all the players will be put back into the draft pool, and they'll get the draft going again next year. To my understanding, I'm not sure. Then we'll restart the contracts that next year, So to my understanding, that's what I've been told. But as we were heading out, like it was pretty hectic and it went by pretty quick. Like we were told, hey, we're shutting down, and the next day we were scheduling flights, and so everything was pretty fast, So we were told, hey, your contract will be paid out for the rest of the year till May 31st, and there wasn't much details, and they actually didn't have many answers for us at that point because I just felt like it kind of was sprung upon everybody. So, but yeah, to my understanding, that's how it is. It's just a year-to-year basis, and they get to keep, the rights of so many players for next season. So, we'll see.
Absolutely. And I actually thought that was, I'm sure you guys all agreed that what the XFL did was outstanding, how they didn't even flinch, didn't think twice about it like some of these other sports are doing right now as far as paying out the players. They were right away, we're going to pay you guys out. And I thought that was so big, especially for a startup company that's really trying to build its own brand, which it definitely did, but it's trying to stick around for forever. And I thought that was huge that they did that and made you guys feel whole right away. Because they could have easily found some legality way of not paying you guys and saying, all right, you pay for what you play and that's it. But they took care of you guys, and I felt like they did that in hopes to not only gain your trust and respect, because I think a lot of the guys that were in the AAF had a bad taste in their mouth, but also to show that they're a legitimate product.
Right. I think you nailed it right on the head. It was just one of those things that proved to us that, they're serious, they care about the players and they're serious about getting this thing rolling and keeping it rolling. So, that was one of the things, and then all of us were thankful for that. It's been a pretty stressful time, still is a pretty stressful time, and, I wish the best for everybody who's, feeling the burdens of this whole deal. But, yeah, it did prove a lot, and the players, gained a lot of trust in the XFL and the people upstairs. So, we're thankful for that.
Now let's focus a little bit more now for you. Now with the coronavirus and the pandemic, everything going on, I have to guess that your normal workout routine and your way of prepping to show scouts and show all the NFL teams your stuff. It seems like you're kind of in a stranglehold here. Are you homebound just like everybody else? And has your day-to-day been effective here now in the off season?
Yeah, man, it's been really weird. There's never been a time like this that I can remember. So it's been really weird. I actually came up to Idaho to see my family because I hadn't seen them since before the season started. And so my gym's been, closed. My gym's been only offering, at first it was, hey, there's only so many people allowed. So here's sign-ups time slots, Mm-hmm. So, and each workout was, my workouts are pretty long when I'm in my hard training mode. And we had 60-minute time slots. That's including your warm-up and everything. So it was definitely really different. And, I'm hoping that, this stuff kind of blows over quickly so I can get back to my normal routine. And that's just kind of where I'm comfortable. But, we kind of just adjust on the fly. And we had to do that throughout the season as well in the XFL. And, new things were coming out here and there. And so you just got to adjust, adapt, and overcome. And so, I've been enjoying seeing my family up here and kind of staying isolated, away from everybody. But I'm excited to get back and start training hard again. So I hope that the things lighten up back down there in Utah where I live and train. So we'll see.
Yeah, so everything up in Idaho, it's not as crazy, I'm guessing, as it is over here as far as things being shut down and everything.
Not as crazy up until today. Today, a new kind of deal came out, only the essential business is going and everyone needs to stay home now. And before it was kind of just, the social distancing thing, be smart, be safe. But
Right.
I think just this morning, Idaho dropped some new legislation about staying home. So I think we're going to see a lot more things shutting down and a lot less people out and about. So.
Yeah, and I definitely see how that can tamper a lot of you guys in the XFL and guys that were working out as free agents. It's one thing to be put into the draft and everything, but you guys aren't going to have that. So I feel like that's going to be a disadvantage for you guys getting back. But at the same time, you put on some tape that a lot of guys that were aspiring to play professional football weren't able to do. And I feel like as far as getting back to the XFL next year, at the very least, I think it's a absolute done deal. At least from what I saw from you and the rest of those receiving corps from the Guardians, I thought you guys pretty much locked in jobs at that level for as long as you want them.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I hope so, and I hope people view it the same way that you do. I haven't actually really spoken to anybody since we headed out, so maybe an update will come out soon. Who knows?
And last question for me now, with the NFL teams, how do you go about at this point reaching out? Do you guys, like, as far as players, do you reach out to them, or is this something you just kind of wait on your agents or whoever you have representing you and just kind of wait for that phone call? How does this process now play out?
Yeah, so it's a crazy time for everybody, and I know everything with the league's kind of been delayed and pushed back, and it's kind of one of those times where I'm just in contact with my agent, and I'm hoping that, some opportunities come to him, and then he's just, will call me up and let me know kind of what's going on, and he gives me updates every so often, and, teams that are interested in what I should be doing. So it's kind of just, the waiting game. It's not a fun waiting game, but, it's just how the business works. So I'll just wait patiently, train, and hopefully get a call.
All right, Colby, I appreciate all that in-depth knowledge and all your takeaways from everything from the XFL and now going into the NFL, hopefully. I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining the show, and I hope to see you. I hope, for both of our sakes, I'm covering you in the NFL, but at the very least, I hope to see you back in the XFL and doing your thing.
Great, man. Thanks, Alex, man. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, man.
That was Colby Pearson of the New York Guardians, a guy who I'm very excited to see where his career goes after this part with the XFL and with the Guardians. Hopefully see him in the NFL. Like we mentioned before, I believe he has all the tools to play at a level and play at a pretty high level in the NFL. This is a guy when I was watching him play at practice and watching the games. It's just the way he plays. He can play in and out. And I feel like he was a slot guy at BYU majority of the time, but he played a lot on the outside with the Guardians. And watching him play, it very much reminded me, as far as the comparison goes to an NFL player now, very similar to Adam Thielen. I mean, you're talking about two guys that are just route running technicians. They really they beat you off the ball, and it's not necessarily with speed or anything crazy. They have a deceptively fast first step, but it's the route running that creates that separation. It's the hard cuts and just the precise type of running that they do, and then they have the speed to keep that separation. That's something I saw a lot at the XFL level with Colby. Very similar to Adam Thielen, and just like Thielen, and I mentioned before, he could play on the outside as well as the inside just as effectively. I saw a lot with the Guardians, more so than I thought, especially with some of those bigger receivers like T.O. Redding and Mikhail McKay. I saw Colby lined up a lot on the outside, considering they had big targets like that. So it shows that they had the faith in him to get behind corners, not just going up against nickels and linebackers. He's going up against the number 1 and 2 corners and was doing his thing. And it's just something that I hope he continues to get the chance at the next level. If not, it's going to be awesome to watch him in the XFL going forward. I want to thank you guys for checking out our interview. It was a great interview with Colby. And just keep an eye out for another episode of Marinoni Time. It's going to be coming, like I said, every Mondays and Fridays. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for listening.